There was a time back in gaming where 3D platformers reigned supreme. Back in the N64 era, there was a plethora of platformers, all with their own unique physics, gimmicks, and overall aesthetics. As the modern gaming era took over, 3D platformers proved to be less profitable than first-person shooters filled with microtransactions, and thus, we saw the genre become almost extinct outside of our favorite Italian plumber. A Hat in Time brings back the magic of the 3D platformer, hence the name A Hat in Time. I get a sense of nostalgia while playing. It's important to note that this feeling of nostalgia was not just due to the cute Zelda Wind Waker type graphics. Although this game has an insane amount of charm that kept me grinning throughout my adventure, the reason this game is one of my favorite games is due to its amazing control and level design. The controls and movement are perfect in this game. Hat Kid can double jump, dive, and even wall run. When you intertwine a double jump into a dive and then cancel out of that dive for extra height, you can cover some serious ground if you have the precision and kahunas to try and pull it off. The double jump doesn't just serve as a purpose to reach higher places, but to also correct mistakes mid-flight. If you barely miss a ledge, Hat Kid can climb a small distance, correcting potential mistakes and help you continue on your journey. This saved me a bunch of times in the later levels when things started to heat up. Hat Kid's controls are not revolutionary by any means, but the fluidity in which I was able to maneuver her cannot be overstated. Good news to all y'all speedrunners out there, you can get a crazy speed boost when you jump immediately after you land from a dive. You'll know you triggered this when you see a blue shiny aura surrounding Hat Kid. You can also turn off all the cutscenes and put a timer on if you really want to go for that perfect speedrun. Poor camera angles have been a major thing that have plagued 3D platformers in the past, but I'm happy to report I had absolutely no camera issues in A Hat in Time. Not only do you have the ability to move the camera freely with the right stick, but in more linear levels, the developers temporarily place the camera in fixed spots when necessary. Level design is my definitive factor on whether a game is good or not, and A Hat in Time shines thanks to its versatility within its game design. Every single level feels so distinct from one another that it feels like you're playing several games in one. Let me break down each chapter and explain how they're not only different, but engaging as well. If you plan to play this game and you don't want any spoilers, I would turn this video off and revisit after you beat the game. In A Hat in Time, main protagonist Hat Kid is on her way home in her spaceship until the Mafia comes along and demands that she pays a space toll. Hat Kid tells the Mafia dude to fuck off, so then this Mafia hunk bashes the glass into her spaceship, causing her to fall out and all of her precious timepiece fuel. The objective of this game is to get all of your timepieces back and get home. To all y'all Mario 64 fans out there, it's pretty simple. The spaceship is the hub world, aka Peach's Castle. Each telescope is a chapter, aka a painting, and each timepiece resembles a star. As soon as you enter Mafia Town, the first chapter, I couldn't help but think of the Banjo-Kazooie DK64 collectathon genre. Mafia Town is a mini sandbox where you can explore, collect stuff, and do certain tasks to land you your precious timepieces. Different events trigger for each timepiece you collect, like in one level you have to chase a Mafia guy around while covered in mud, scaring him into giving you a timepiece, and in another one you have to save the town from lava by shutting off faucets. The purpose of Mafia Town is to get you familiar with the controls and mechanics, while also providing familiar tasks that we've seen in 3D platformers. It's the typical first level, there's no pitfalls or difficult enemies to deter young players from enjoying the game. Mafia Town is not made to challenge, it's an introduction. Even though it was easy, Mafia Town was a fun time, but it's not like we haven't seen this before. After I got through Mafia Town and started Chapter 2, Battle of the Birds, the game flipped from an open world where you explore to well-designed linear levels filled with their own identity. In the first level, I had to sneak around a movie studio, using my platforming and timing skills to prevent myself from getting caught. In another level, there's a murder on the train. All of a sudden, this charming, sunny game turns into a film noir where I have this detective hat and I'm finding keys and solving puzzles. The level also reminded me of Zelda Ocarina of Time when I had to sneak past the guards to Disney Plus and chill with the princess. In the next level, there's a bomb at the end of the train and I have to defuse it in time by utilizing my dope platforming skills. Speaking of platforming skills, every chapter has time rift orbs scattered across the maps. When you land on these orbs, you're placed in linear platforming sections reminiscent of the Mario Sunshine levels where you lose FLUDD and you gotta get to the end of the level the old-fashioned way. The time rift sections might be my favorite part of the game because it's pure platforming at its finest, plus the music and overall atmosphere is beautiful. In Chapter 3, we arrive at Subcon Forest, and the game really changes from here. This isn't the same cute game that you think. Basically, you sell your soul and you're in debt to this shadow, ghost, devil guy called the Snatcher. In this chapter, you're his evil henchman and you have to kill spirits who apparently want to die.
We want to die.
I told you, this game takes a really dark turn. You also explore a mansion, which obviously took me back to Luigi's Mansion. The gameplay just continuously evolves. A nice example in Chapter 3 that shows great level design is when you obtain the hookshot, an essential mechanic that you use not only for the rest of the adventure, but to backtrack and pass levels. Hat Kid falls down a well and obtains the hookshot, but the only way to get out is to utilize that hookshot, swinging out of harm's way. When level design forces you to learn the mechanics without flat out telling you, I'm immediately hooked. Modern games typically suffer from lengthy tutorials where you have to read a million things and the game spoon feeds you information. Despite its kiddie graphics, there's no handholding in A Hat in Time. The gamer is respected enough to figure things out. The end of this chapter provides you with a pretty challenging boss fight, and it's worth noting that the boss fights in this game are adrenaline-rushing experiences that put you to the test. Each boss teaches you the mechanics early on in the fight, and then ramps that difficulty up to the max by the end of it. It's super engaging, and honestly, Nintendo should take some notes instead of the typical jump on this 2-3 times and you're done method. In the last chapter, Alpine Skyline, you're brought back to an open world formula, but this is a true open world where you don't get booted out of the level every time you get a timepiece. This is as modern as 3D platforming has gone, Mario Odyssey style. There's content jam-packed in this giant world, which is not always the case with bigger levels. Sometimes larger levels can suffer from emptiness, but Alpine Skyline is filled to the brim with juicy secrets. As you're zipping through that old hook zipline thingy, you're connecting to more linear levels, but even in the more linear levels, there's still exploration to be done. There's tons of goodies that will help you throughout your adventure, like yarn balls that knit you new hats, and pawns which act like a currency which help you buy certain badges. There are other collectibles like relics which enable you to unlock those platformy time rift sections. A Hat in Time rewards your curiosity, so do yourself a favor. Take your time throughout every level and look for everything this game has to offer. It will be a rewarding experience. In the DLC level, the first mission was all about exploring and doing specific tasks to collect shards of a timepiece that broke. I initially felt that this world was a bit too big to explore, but I realized that was intentional. The first level had no time limit, it was simply a way to get familiar with my surroundings. The next level was a timed level where you have multiple tasks from cleaning dishes to making food to bringing messages from character to character. This was reminiscent of Overcooked. The best part of the DLC is all the extra missions that you can do. The Snatcher decides to hang out in your spaceship and he assigns you all of these new missions, and they can range from collecting pawns in Mafia Town while being timed to brand new platforming sections in a specific level. This is for people who beat the game and want an extra challenge. You will be put to the test with these challenges and you will die a lot. When a 3D platformer is challenging without clunky controls and the level design is top notch, it's a home run for me. In A Hat in Time, you have several, can you guess it? Hats! There's a hat which allows you to sprint, there's a hat that allows you to throw explodey thingies at the shiny thingies which will land you more secret goodies to collect. There's an ice hat where you turn into an ice sculpture, and if triggered under an ice platform, it'll transfer you far onto another ice platform. My favorite was the Dweller Mask, which fills hollow platforms into usable platforms within a certain radius for a short duration. The Dweller Mask made for some great level design late in the game. Some of the challenging and most thought-provoking levels featured the Dweller Mask. Variety is a really important thing in video games because it prevents the experience from feeling stale, but this can only be done if the levels are actually good. I feel as if this game was created specifically for my taste. This is all my favorite genres jam-packed into the most charming and enjoyable game. A Hat in Time is truly a time machine. It's a game that took me back to when I was younger, a simpler time when my brothers and I would sit on the floor 2 feet away from the TV, switching off the controller, collecting stars on Bomb-On Battlefield, or collecting enough golden bananas to get to the next section of K. Rool's boat. The way A Hat in Time incorporates the old nostalgic elements we know and love, while polishing the blemishes of older games, makes this a true modern 3D platformer. If you come from a time where 3D platformers dominated your living room, then A Hat in Time is a must-play.